Coffee over which we can discuss the relationship between design and taste.
Among the most intense phenomena of custom and memory, an intermediary between man and an ancient cult, the coffee maker is a wonder that produces the most delicious scent and infusion, which satisfies one of the most libidinous sensations that man could wish for, coffee orgasm.
Well, coffee making is entirely a matter of personal taste. Some people prefer the look and feel of an espresso machine and will be absolutely convinced that it produces the best tasting coffee as well. Other people prefer the look and feel of a cafetiere and will be equally convinced that their coffee is the best. It's a matter of combining the ritual and the ceremony and the design of the machine with what the actual flavour of the coffee produced is like.
This is a crude old model, not a designer Napolitana. Very, very simple indeed. Two pressed aluminium shells with this little filter in the middle, which the coffee is trapped in and the water passes through. And lasts for a hell of a long time. And the more bashed about, the more attractive they get. But there's a lot of design effort that goes into coffee making equipment. It's very much a way of designers expressing their love and enjoyment of coffee, I think.
I understand more and more that people doesn't buy a coffee maker just because they need to make coffee, but they tend to use the object and to buy the objects for other reasons, more difficult to understand. They like to be surprised, or they like objects that bring them emotions, probably dreams. And I like very much to help people dream.
When designers are let loose on things, they oversell them like mad, and especially Italian designers, they almost start rewriting the Bible when they start to design something new and almost forget the sort of simplicity of the idea. So caught up in philosophy and poetry do they become. Full marks to them. It's absolutely wonderful and amusing and keeps everybody on their toes.
Mass production can be a big danger for design in the 90s, in the sense that that mass production cannot accept risk. They have to work strictly on a rule system. Good design always likes to break rules. Transgression is important in good design. both technical transgression or marketing transgression or even aesthetical transgression. We had such an interesting result working with architects instead of pure industrial designers, because in Italy during the 80s, architects, even the biggest one, couldn't work in architecture. I mean, nobody was building, for example. So they found a good expressive possibility in industrial design. Coffee maker is no longer only an object. It is truly a piece of architecture. It's a sort of person. Every architect has tried a project of his own, has ambitions of building his own coffee maker, just as he would like to build a tower.
Which we brought back, and it was an immediate success. And this wonderful machine with its 4 handles gleaming in chrome. We added that Italian import to something that I think was very British at that time, which was coffee bar culture. And it had got to do with clothes, it had got to do with motor scooters, it had got to do with, suddenly young people being released from an extremely gloomy, depressing, grey, battle-torn Britain.
Well, here we are in a typical espresso coffee bar. In this rather synthetically exotic decor, the teenagers relax after their working day. That is, if you can call it relaxation. Of course, you and I might prefer the quiet atmosphere of an old English pub. But these youngsters get their kicks, as they put it, under plastic palm trees where they sit to hatch and plot their teenage rebellion.
They started off with what we call the manual machine, which is the lever machine, which required a little bit of strength and also quite a bit of skill to produce a coffee consistently. And through the years they've changed to use the machine like this with automatic, which means that anybody can make a coffee off the machine without too many problems. The way the coffee looks is 99% of the way to achieving the taste that you're expecting. The colour of an espresso should be like a mid-brown colour. It shouldn't be too light, shouldn't be too dark, but it should be that mid-brown colour. And the effect of the espresso is a very short, sharp shock. In fact, it's 2 shocks. The initial shock is to the palate, which really does waken it up. But the second shock, and one of the reasons probably it's more popular, is the effects on the body after a few minutes of an injection of caffeine. In fact, less caffeine than drinking filter coffee, but the concentration does give you a jolt. The machine and the whole of the effect of espresso cappuccino is like a visual aroma to you. So you'll be sitting at the other side of the bar once you've ordered your coffee and watching all this take place before you. And then you finally finish off the ritual by having the coffee presented to you and then adding your sugar and stirring very, very slowly.
All the symbolism that goes with coffee. You can think of pavement cafes in Paris, wicker chairs, marble-top tables, people sitting elegantly at it. I mean, there's so many things that build into the culture of coffee in people's minds. You ask your girlfriend to come up to your flat and you say, come up and have a cup of coffee. Very unlikely that you'd say, come up and have a cup of tea. So it automatically puts itself into people's minds, I think, as a sort of modern, upwardly mobile, energetic drink.
I think coffee is very much seen as an achiever's drink. If you take, for example, the recent Halifax advertising, the guy in there drinks his cup of coffee, and that cup of coffee says an awful lot about him. It says he's an achiever, it says he's successful. It gives you an impression of his lifestyle perhaps in the fast lane.
Really?
If you take the ranges of coffees that we have, then I think you do see it, they reflect very different lifestyles.
Taste out of special blend and roast by Nescafe.
The cups or the mugs are a very important part of the ambience that we're trying to sell. If you take Nescafe, it's in a warm red mug like this. Now that's because it's an everyday social drink, and it's the sort of thing you pick up, you put down, you drink, you enjoy, and you do it very much in an informal context. Gold Blend is sophisticated, and so what we use is very much a classic white cup, very classic shape, classic lines, a nice little gold band around the top.
I'm on the first flight to Milan in the morning.
That's terrible.
Why?
They don't serve Gold Blend in Milan.
Blend 37, strong and dark, reminds you perhaps of a continental coffee. So what we've tried to do is find a cup that replicates that. So it's a dark green, very continental type of cup.
When we first started marketing plunging coffee makers, browns and purples and oranges were in. And then 7, 8 years ago, when reds were very, very popular, every kitchen was red. In the last 3 or 4 years, you can very much talk about the monochromatic look. The next stage in colours has very much been towards the, dare I say, the country look, using warmer and softer colours. There are sort of cranberries and British racing greens and warm blues coming through, which will very much be the colour theme for the beginning of the 90s, we believe.
Coffee historically has always been very much connected with social activity, and people like to impress people with their coffee-making paraphernalia, their pots, their grinders, their roasters, or whatever. And it's an important part of the ritual, the machinery that is used for making coffee.
What is the most important thing in the end is the taste of the coffee, and the more research that goes into what actually produces that taste. I mean, this is, you know, a designer's task.
Coffee maker is a miraculous machine that creates the most delightful aroma and brew, which satisfy one of the strongest needs man can have, the desire for coffee.
This is the best part of the day for me. Just sitting peacefully, sipping cafe.
Well, entries can now be made for the BBC Design Awards of 1990. Application forms for the 3 categories, environment, products and graphics, are currently available from this address: BBC Design Awards, the Design Council, 28 Haymarket, London SW1Y 4SU. You may like to telephone this London number, 925 0055. The closing date is February the 23rd, and the information is also available on CFAX page 629. We'll be discussing sight next week and glass.